Okay, so they want us to graph this over one period. So it's got lots of pieces to it. It's got, you know, a change in the period and the stretch factor, and then the shifts, the horizontal shift and a vertical shift. So there's more information in the book, but I thought I would just go through this. We've kind of looked at these things before. It's in that form A, but tangent, not sine or cosine, bx minus c plus d. So we can establish some parts here, the things that we know. Okay, so the stretch factor. Well, I'll write over here. So the stretch, and it could be a compression, like our last one was a compression. It's going to be the absolute value of A. So in this case, in our case, it's going to be 2. Okay? It is going to reflect. I'm going to make a note to myself, reflect about x-axis. Okay. And then what is B? Well, B is going to determine the period, right? So B is pi. So our period is going to be pi over the absolute value of B. In our case, that's going to be pi over pi. Those are absolute value signs. So our period is going to be 1. So we want to remember that. And then what about, I'm going to call it the phase shift. They don't really call it that in the book, but it's how it's shifting. And what we're going to shift are the asymptotes. We're going to shift the whole graph. But anyway, it's going to be C over B. So in our case, that's going to be negative pi over pi, which is going to be 1 as well. Okay? And then finally, our vertical shift is going to be D, which in this case is negative 1. Okay, so it's going to shift down. All right, so let's get a graphing thing going on here. Okay, so we want it to, let's think about the first asymptote, okay? We want to go a period of 1, right? So we would be like at half, so this would be like 0.5 here, and then negative 0.5 here. That would be a period of 1, right? But we don't get to put the asymptotes in, so let's not draw those yet. Let's count out some more marks here. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Okay. Now we want to shift 1. So my normal asymptote would have been here at 0.5, but now it's going to be at 1.5 because I need to shift it. Now what does that mean? It means the other ones shift as well. So keep a period between the asymptotes, and it's 1, so I am going to have 1 here. And you're going to say, well, it didn't move, but, you know, it doesn't look like it moved, I guess. And we just have to do 1 period. Now, what period do you want to do? That's kind of up to you. I would probably do the one that's shifted if I'm doing it for someone, just to say, see, I recognize there was a shift here. Now, we got to get some points. Well, we want to go halfway in between each of those. We know there's going to be a point here, right in the middle, I guess, in the middle of the period at, well, it's not going to be that because it's going to shift, right? It's going to shift down 1, so I got to move it already. Okay, so let me get some vertical lines here. Looks like that's about 1, negative 1, and 1. Okay, and then what's our stretch factor? 2. So we're going to be thinking about that. Let's draw another one in. These are kind of big. I was trying to keep it to scale. Do your best on that. Maybe graph paper is the way to go. Okay, now my point that I drew in there that's in the wrong place, that needs to shift down because of this. It needs to shift down 1. So it's going to be right there. And then I'm going to think about the point that I would have had halfway in between. Normally it would have been at 1, but, or up 1, but that's going to be multiplied by 2. So it's going to go up here to -1, or +1, sorry. So normally it would have been at, well, let's see if I can draw this here real quick. You know, here's your asymptotes. And normally you would have had this point here and here. Now I've reflected it, right? I reflected it about the y-axis. So this has a reflection. Has everything going for it. It's just missing the stretch factor. But it won't be at 1 now because it's going to be multiplied by 2. So it's going to be up here at 2. But because of the vertical shift down, you know, then it has to go back down to 1. Okay, I hope that makes sense. You have to play around with these. I'm hoping, though, we've had some experience with transformations, and so you might see these a little bit better. Okay, now we've got one more. We would have a point normally at -1, right there, but it's going to go down to -2, but because of the vertical shift down, it's going to go down here to -3. So kind of a lot going on there. All right, so we get a curve like this. Does it look stretched? It looks stretched. Is it shifted down 1? It's shifted down 1. It's reflected about the x-axis. And the period changed. You know, it shifted. Did it really shift? Well, it kind of looks like the asymptotes are still in the same place, but they are. But, you know, well, actually, you know, we're taking into consideration the period is not marked off in pi's, right? So it's 1.5 and 0.5 where those asymptotes are. So it is different. Okay, so that's how I would graph it. And if they wanted another period, you could go out and do another one as well. Just in case you're looking in the book, they shifted it the other way. So they went to the left and I went to the right. So, but it's this, you know, if you keep making those graphs, you know, that it would all look the same.